first responsibility of the tower captain is to be the link between the parish, the vicar and the bell ringers. And we are very lucky here that we have a very good relationship between the vicar and the parish in general, who are very supportive of our work. I organise what we're going to ring, decide who perhaps can ring what they would like to try, and whether we have those people available to help them. I come from a family of bell ringers. My grandfather learned to ring sometime during the First World War, so probably about 100 years ago. My father learned at the end of the Second World War, my mother a little bit later. So ringing has been in my blood all my life. My husband rings, my children ring, my uncles ring. The church here was built in the 1870s, and looking at the fundraising leaflets at the time, there was thoughts of having a tower, but perhaps they thought it was too much money to raise, so they didn't do it. And it took nearly 40 years before the tower was added on. The vicar of the day in 1913 decided to pay for a tower to complete the church. He paid for the tower and the bells, and the clock was paid for by public subscription. So this tower, as we know now, has been here for 100 years. The bells have been here for 100 years, which in bell terms is really young. Provided the tower is still standing, we expect the bells to be here in 1,000 years' time. Our biggest cost is ropes. They last here between about 10 and 12 years. They cost us about £100 a rope. We had new pulleys fitted about 15 years ago. I've forgotten how much that was, a few £100. We had new bearings fitted, but that was the first major thing that had been done to these bells in 100 years. And that was several £1,000s, but by and large, there is very, very little cost to looking after bells. We do have a tower secretary and a tower treasurer, because we collect small amounts of money each week, which we put forward towards the cost of the ropes. But the main other role is steeple keepers, who are the people who look after the fixtures and the fittings, just make sure everything is running freely, smoothly and not wearing out. Mark is steeple keeper, along with Les and Tom, and really anybody else who wants to be involved with that. Liz is our secretary, Shirley looks after the money, and beyond that we all just help each other. Mark and I are the two who have been ringing for the longest, so from that point of view we have the most experience. Mark tends to teach the actual bell handling. I get more involved with the teaching of the method ringing and that progression of the side of bell ringing. All bell ringing methods, that's what we call them, have their own specific names. It's usually split into two parts. The first part tells you the type of the pattern, things like Granzer, Plain Bob, All Saints, Stedman. And then the second part tells you how many bells are involved. So doubles is 5 bells, minor is 6, triples is 7, major is 8. We can't go more than major here because we only have 8 bells. So early stages, people ring rounds, which is just all the bells in order, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We gradually progress through what's called call changes, which is where we tell people which 2 bells we want to change in the order. And then you progress on to method ringing, which is where all the bells swap at every stroke. Hand stroke when you pull the sally, back stroke when you pull back down. And these become more and more complex. We only ring a very small selection of quite simple methods here. There are many, many hundreds that are out there waiting for you to learn. Most of the people associated with this band are in fact regular churchgoers, so they do it as a service to the church. But they also come for the company and for the mental stimulation and the feeding off each other, helping each other, being helped by each other. We have regular visitors from other towers who come here, some to help us, some to learn things from us, and we in our turn go to other towers to support them. We teach anybody, but we just like you to be 12 or older before we start. You can go up to any age. Our only criteria really is that you can get up the stairs. Ken is our oldest ringer. He doesn't like us to tell you how old he is, but he learnt at older than you would have expected people to learn. At the other end we have our youngsters, Matthew who's still here at school, Eloise who's now away at university, Anthony and Rob who have been to university and come back. We cover all age ranges, all towers do. So apart from ringing on a Sunday morning, which we try and do every Sunday, we ring for weddings when requested, we toll bells for funerals. In this church, the one time of year when we don't ring is Holy Week, the week before Easter. The last ringing is on Palm Sunday, and then we don't ring again until Easter Day, because that's a very solemn time in the church's calendar, and it's our way of respecting that. Remembrance Sunday, we ring the bells what we call half muffled. There is a leather muffle put on one side of the clapper, so although you hear the full strike one side, it's a muffled sound the other. It's quite a haunting sound, and done well sounds really, really nice. And then at Christmas we get involved with the church, and we decorate a tree for the Christmas tree festival. This year we rang handbells as well during the festival. We play tunes on the bells sometimes, which is not something normally recommended, and we have chocolates, but they tend to spill over to the rest of the year as well. Because bells are very loud, they're the only musical instrument designed to be heard outside, especially church-wise. All of Erith do know when we're here, we're quite sure of that. This is part of our worship in the church, service to the community. It's letting people know that the church is here, and for most of this band that is actually the most important part of it. The fact that it's something we enjoy and we get a lot of pleasure out of, and mental stimulation and company, is all secondary really. It is a service to the church.
Yeah. Okay, this is the ringing chamber. This is where the ringers work from. This is home for us on a Sunday morning, Monday night. As you see, we've got 8 bells, 8 ropes hanging down. Yeah. This is the one that goes downstairs so the vicar can pull on it and chime the bell when we're not here. Yeah. The other ropes are pulled up by the spider off the floor, keep them dry. We've got to get one down so we can demonstrate, so I'll do that. It's called a spider because it's got 8 legs. So the other thing we need to do is to silence the clock hammers, because the clock strikes on some of the bells to make the quarter chimes. Yep. And if we're swinging the bells when the hammers move, you can damage things. I'll disconnect those. And then we're clear to go upstairs. Okay, come up. It's just 8 feet. Step onto the floor here. Step over this beam. Okay. And you'll be safe. Okay, we've got 8 bells. They're all here on the same level as you. They're quite big. Even the smallest one, this one, weighs nearly a quarter of a tonne. And the biggest one, which is right by the ladder, lowest note, that weighs over 3/4 of a tonne. Every bell's hung to swing. And they have a full wheel, because when we ring them, they actually turn mouth upwards, fully mouth upwards one way, right round another way. And the rope which goes down to the ringer goes down over a pulley, so they've got control. And above us all there is the 4 clock faces, and then the open spire above. So it's just an empty space above, like a big echo chamber. So the sound of the bells mixes up there and goes out through the louvers. The louvers at this level have been glazed on the inside to stop the birds getting in, but it stops the sound being too loud right outside. Okay, what we're going to do now is show you how a bell works. I'll give Rachel a signal and she'll ring the bell up and down, and I'll explain what happens as it happens. Okay. Okay, this is the bell we're going to demonstrate on. When I give Rachel a signal on this rope, she's going to ring the bell up with its mouth upwards. But to make it a bit quieter, because it's very noisy up here otherwise, we're going to silence the clapper by putting a rubber car tyre muffle on it. Just a second. Okay, once the bell's up I can explain a bit about it. It's noisy while it's going up. Here it goes. Don't know if you noticed, but when the bell's swinging full circle, the rope goes backwards and forwards over the pulley. So one pull of the rope, the bell goes one way, next pull of the rope, the bell goes back the other way. And when it's fully mouth upwards, the stay, which is this wooden post, engages with the slider, which is the piece of wood that pivots underneath the bell, to allow it to be rested just past the balance. So that's now quite safe. And the clapper is lying against the bell, and that's just free swinging inside the bell. So it just strikes the bell. When the bell slows, the clapper overtakes it and hits it. Right, got to give Rachel another signal to bring it back down again. So here we go. Okay, so that's how a bell works. Right, back downstairs.
Okay.
Okay. Right, before we go downstairs, a quick look at the clock. The middle part of the clock is driven by the pendulum, and the gears in the middle is what moves the hands, and there's a shaft that runs up to the hands. The right hand side of the clock is like a giant musical box. That's what plays the quarter chimes, the quarter hour chimes. And then the left hand side of the clock is what counts the hours, so this wheel counts the number of hours. The clock's now electrically driven, that's why there's these electric motors, and they wind up these three weights. The weight in the middle drives the clock, the weight on the right drives the quarter hours, and the weight on the left drives the hour hand. So the ropes from the bells upstairs go down to the ringers downstairs through these wooden chutes. That stops the ropes flapping about too much.